We wake up anytime between 5:30 and 5:45 in the morning, get ourselves down to the boathouse, and then we try to warm up inside. It's usually 30 degrees or colder. So we're warming up inside the boathouse, stretching, using the ergs, and then usually by 6:15, 6:30 we're trying to get on the water so that we can get in a solid 2 hours of work on the water.
We first got on the water a week ago Monday. We had an excellent trip to Clemson prior to the ice leaving the river. We're very excited that the ice left, and now we're getting down to work.
The boat, fully loaded, is going to weigh with the boat around half a ton. So we get that during a sprint piece. We'll get that going over 20 miles per hour, which is pretty cool, especially when you're working, with 8 other guys to do that.
The river is a tidal body of water, so it changes every 6 to 8 hours. So we deal with different currents and tides and wind direction you have to think about. We row anywhere between 8 and 12 crews are out on the water at any given time.
The shell is set up, it's made completely out of carbon fiber, and it's a couple 100 pounds of carbon fiber, and basically the components of the shell itself are the wing riggers, which support our oars and hold them in place while we're rowing, and then inside the boat there is the foot stretchers, which hold our feet in place. And then the seats that we sit on are actually on rollers, and that's a huge misconception about rowing, is that people will tell you that, oh, you must be super muscular, super strong upper body, but we actually use 80% legs on the strokes.
For the MAC Conference Championship, it's a point system. So we have 3 boats that count for points: the first varsity 8, the second varsity 8, and the varsity 4, and they each are worth a certain amount of points. So the first varsity is worth the most points, second varsity 8 is worth the second amount of points, and the 4 is worth the third amount of points. So we're trying to make sure that we put girls in boats that can get us the most amount of points in that category.
Within an 8, there's actually 9 people, because you have the coxswain, who's the little guy yelling at everyone, telling them what to do. So the coxswain sits in, we would think of it as the back, but it's really the front because everyone's facing backwards. At the front of the boat, it's called the stern, and at the back, it's the bow. So you have bow seat, stern seat. Stern seat is also the stroke seat because they set the pace. And then going down the line, you have different people in different seats that match up to their abilities better. So like in the middle of the boat, where you don't have as much of an effect on the balance, you want to put your big guys, because they just rip on it. Like they just sit there and they just pull. Towards the ends of the boat, you want to put your smaller guys who have maybe better technique, better control.
There's actually a really rich history for rowing on the Hudson River, and especially in this area where the Marist Boathouse is. The Intercollegiate Rowing Association hosts a national regatta every year, and in years past, like in the early 1900s, it would be hosted here on the Hudson River, and some of the major Ivy League schools would have boathouses. So the Cornell Boathouse and a few others would come down here a week prior to the regatta, and they would come and train and sort of prep themselves for the race. So it's definitely really cool to come down here and be able to row on the same river as some the greatest crews in history.
Some of the rewards from being on the rowing team, besides having a great team that's we've all become best friends, we've become a support system for each other. One of the coolest things in the world is when you're on the river, the sun is rising over campus, and the boat is just moving perfectly. This is a sport about perfection, and when you can achieve that, it's amazing.